What ruined religion for you? That people would try to force their religion onto me and make me feel like I was a bad person if I didn't have the same beliefs as them. You must be talking about my Mormon parents or my born again evangelical folks back in the early 2000s. They quite literally sent my baby sister, 14-year age difference. She was in kindergarten. I had just completed my associates and living with the family until I found a job and place of my own, down to my room one Sunday morning to beg me to church with them so I wouldn't go to hell. Her voice sounded like she was on the verge of tears. Livid is too weak a word. Was told that dinosaur bones were planted in the ground by Satan to trick us into believing in evolution. Excuse me? What the F? Yes, I remember a pamphlet from my church as a kid that said the same thing about caveman bones. My dad used to believe that Hebrew Israelite nonsense and told me scientists were like politicians. So yeah, there's definitely people like that out there. Learning that my mom got alienated and bullied after she tried creating a single moms club at our church. My mother-in-law got ridiculed for leaving her abusive husband. Never went to church again since. It's sad how unaccepting some church communities are. Oh, this. The one time I remember my father being openly angry with people in our church was when a few of the old dears, his words, convinced a young lady who'd recently become a Christian that she needed to go back to her husband. He'd been beating her up. Dad only told me about it some years after the fact. I was really young when it happened, but he was still livid about it. My mother used to be in a Christian book club, and a woman joined who was a former addict. Once she shared her story, all the other suburban women in the book club started to distance themselves from her. It's pretty awful the way some people completely ignore the whole love thy neighbor thing. What I've learned is that stuff like that isn't about Christianity. It's about women meeting up and gossiping. They probably just don't think doing it at a cafe is productive. Molested by a youth pastor as a kid. Damn, this almost happened to me too. We all went to this shady effing group called Young Life. It was like youth group light. They did a bunch of skits and sang some songs in the shortest sermons. Barely even religious. But our leader was a pedophile. 100%. Our weekly meetings were in this old farmhouse in the woods. It was desolate out there. The leader, whose name was John. I'm not even changing it. F that guy. He would say he was mentoring 4 of us. I never thought about it until later, but the 4 of us all looked the same. We were all really athletic, muscular but not big, kind of live, all skinny and all fit. There was 1 wrestler, 1 swimmer, and 2 of us were track runners, all with the same body type. We didn't even know each other, and we were from 3 different schools. He brought us together, took us to concerts, hung out with us on our own. I'll never forget the time he tried to get me to come back to his house. He put in Radiohead's Creep in the CD player when we were sitting at Sonic. Just the 2 of us, and he asked me if I would come back to his house alone. I'm getting the creeps right now just thinking about it. I said no, but later I found out other kids didn't. It was a really sad realization in my life. TLDR, don't let your kids hang out with youth group leaders. He put in Radiohead's Creep in the CD player. How strangely appropriate. My parents told me at a young age that I would go to hell for asking the question, how do we know God is real? They could have simply said to read the Bible or something like that. But instead they told me that I would go to hell. I guess it was the idea behind blind faith. Your childhood must have been hell. To tell that to you as a child, I mean, wag were they thinking? Me too. Scared to death as a child of going to hell, but not knowing what for. Confusing. I ended up with mental illness because of it. Southern Baptist. OCD perhaps. I blame my Christian upbringing for obsessive thoughts of purity, sin, and the apocalypse. These have not gone away, even though I stopped believing when I was 12. 25 now. Religious abuse is truly terrible and so unacknowledged. I'm so sorry you all were subjected to it. I really hope you're able to someday heal from it. The people mostly. The fake fucking people. The crazy people. The cherry picking people. The hypocritical people. The rapists. Doesn't matter what you believe in. Whether you're right or wrong. Shitty people are shitty. I feel you, mate. It's different when you're hypocritically preaching religion. I was a freshman in college in 1995 at Clemson. This was the inaugural season of the Carolina Panthers, and because a stadium in Charlotte hadn't been completed yet, they played their home games at Death Valley. It was cool. The town is well equipped for tailgating and stuff, but not on Sunday. Sunday is church day. I was a Methodist. I well recall the pastor of the Clemson United Methodist Church allowed himself to be quoted in a newspaper, complaining that the Panthers organization owed all the churches in town for the donations they didn't get on Sunday because everyone was at the big games. The donations, not the souls that weren't saved. It was the money. This reminds me of that mother of 4 who won the lottery and gave her church $700. 000. And then the church decided to sue her for $1.5 million because of all the emotional and financial stress they went through, since they had expected to get more from her. Please tell me they lost this case. Not sure really. Never saw the outcome reported, and I can't seem to find anything past when the lawsuit was first filed. Usually this means it ended in an out-of-court settlement with a non-disclosure agreement, NDA. Bullied at school, mixed with toxic religious mother mixed with growing up. God never answering my prayers about bullies was definitely one of my first dominoes. Sorry, God decided that a football game was more important. /s. Bullying sucks and it's awful that happened to you. Close bracket. I wish I could remember which comedian it was that talked about how athletes will thank a God for a win, but not blame God for a loss. Like, man, Jesus really had it in for us today. My infant brother's death. I was very little when he died at 3 days old, but it always bothered me being taught that Jesus was the only man that ever lived without sin. I thought, what could this helpless little baby have done that was a sin? He never even cried. When I asked my very Catholic grandmother about it, she told me to watch what I say because I was being blasphemous. When I asked my very Catholic grandmother about it, she told me to watch what I say because I was being blasphemous. That would have been the red flag for me. If your argument could have been defended against, then that's what should have happened. But nope, shut up. And don't ask questions. Apostrophe. That's why I lost my religion. No one would ever answer my questions, and then when I grew up I met someone who questioned my faith, and I realized I was saying I believe in something I knew nothing about. I did do some deeper Bible study with my very religious twin sister, but it just raised more questions than it answered, and really sealed the deal. This is what happened to me. My mom went to a Catholic high school and took us all to church every Sunday. But as soon as I got older and started questioning things I thought were holes in the stories with no one able to explain it, I fell out really quick. I forgot which stand-up comedian said it, but they had a bit on this kind of thing. You went to Catholic school for 12 years. So why aren't you Catholic? Because I went to Catholic school for 12 years. Apostrophe. Being kicked out of Christian school prior to the 3rd grade because my mom bought the wrong edition of the Bible. And I got kicked out of Catholic school for gluing my head to my desk. This made my whole day. I went to a Protestant boarding school. My friend and I would wear big nose and glasses to morning assembly, as they would always tell us to remove them. One day, we glued the noses to our faces. So when we were told to remove the glasses, the noses stayed in place. We seemed to spend a lot of time in the headmistress office. Religious boarding school. Lucky it wasn't a headmaster or you'd have been more than spanked. When people only uses a portion of their religion to have a reason to hate other people and also being hypocritical. Scientology ruined my religion for me. I'm an actor, and they hired me to do some instructional/education video for them and paid decent. I know they're kinda cookie, but I thought, hey, I've worked for crazier people in this industry, so I met with them on their super secret gold base in Southern California. I shot there for several days and got to know the staff/volunteers who have dedicated their entire life to serving Scientology. I learned a lot about their religion, as I've been genuinely curious about all faiths. I remember driving home after my final day on set and thinking to myself, how can such normal, nice people believe in something so obviously false? I mean, their founder, who has been historically documented as a scoundrel and a crook, literally wrote a book got a huge influence of people, and then convinced them that it was the one true way to live. Being a fully practicing Mormon at the time, you can imagine my shock when I immediately realized that's the exact same thing people say about my religion. I still firmly believe the heart of the Mormon Church is to make someone better through weekly introspection and selfless service to others. 90% of the people are honestly working to become their best self on a weekly basis by focusing on its teachings. However, as for the one true faith, there's too much dissonance, particularly when it comes to LGBT+ policies, for me to believe that's true. Love that last line. I don't understand how people don't draw parallels between their religions like you did more often. My realization moment was when I realized that one's religion depended generally on their geography, and specifically on their parents' religion. Most people choose to become the religion they are raised in, and they have no choice in the matter. Once you realize that Muslim kids believe because that's what they were told, same as Christians, same as Mormons, same as Jews, same as all the other religions, and that those religions tend to cluster in regions. Nobody can help who their parents are. I could have easily been born to someone in Kenya or Denmark. My brother is a Christian, and I remember watching that South Park episode where they rip on Mormons the entire time, and he was laughing his ear off because he thinks their religion is ridiculous. Then I told him that's how atheists see all religion, and his mood dropped pretty quick. I was raised Mormon. Can confirm the Mormon Church is ridiculous. I stopped attending for many reasons.